Hello folks. It's a pleasure to see you again after so long. I mean it when I say that I really missed y'all and making content for you. About my absence, let's say that I fell asleep and my alarm, I guess you could say, didn't really do a good job waking me up. But thankfully, Nintendo was thoughtful enough to make a ruckus so loud that it'd wake the laziest Snorlax up. So, as we all know, recently Nintendo finally gave us our first look at what their next generation console has to offer recently, and the games that'll be coming on or near its launch. Now, don't get me wrong, I did like a lot of what I saw. We got games on the Switch 2 running at 4K 60 or even 120 FPS at 1080p, and surprisingly on handheld mode too. We're finally getting a new Mario Kart after like a decade, an open world one at that. We got a new Kirby Air Ride, and we're getting our first 3D Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong 64, which really had me staring at my monitor like a fool. We also got new functionalities with the Joy-Cons and the usual technical improvements that come with an evolution of a console. We even have games getting updates to take advantage of the new hardware or straight up new content to go with it. I really did enjoy myself watching everything, but it all came crashing down once deeper details on what was shown off came out. Let's start with the console itself. Firstly, and this might be a hot take, but Nintendo overshot the console's price by $50. I think a clean $399 would have been the perfect price for the system. Also, the new game chat feature they showed off looks really nice and cool on paper. Being able to have your little party chats and stuff while you play is really good, and it's about time Nintendo did more with online chat than just an awkward phone app they gave us for the first Switch. They even added a dedicated button for game chat and made a camera for video chatting too. But while all that is neat, the more I think about it, this is really just a restricted and inferior version of Discord. I'm not trying to be too nitpicky, but I can't help but think about how much better voice chatting and online socializing as a whole would be if they just partnered up with Discord and got the app on their consoles. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation have it, so why not Nintendo? It doesn't make much sense, but that's all I have to say about that really. Next is their backwards compatibility with the first Switch. And this, my dear viewers, is where my interest and hype for the system really started to go away. So, game cartridges for the Switch 2 and the first Switch are pretty much the exact same. You can put the Switch games you already have in your brand new Switch 2. There's not a guarantee every single game you have will work day one because there's games listed to not be completely working right now, but I'm sure that a good 90% of everybody's library will be playable. Now, those familiar with how the Xbox Series consoles and PS5 work, you'll understand that with a new console with backwards compatibility with the one that came before it, updates for older games to take advantage of the new hardware come as well, letting you benefit from higher resolutions and frame rates. With some consoles, these updates are completely free. With others, it depends on the game. Most of them I see are free though, but Nintendo decided to charge for what they call their Nintendo Switch 2 edition upgrades for their games. And no, I'm not talking about the games that get actual new content for their upgrades like Mario Party Jamboree or Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I'm talking about games where their only real upgrades are their resolution and frame rates, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Metroid Prime 4. Now, some of you might be wondering in your head, but Jay, isn't it fair to pay for a better experience in your games? Firstly, the better experience in my games are why I bought the console in the first place. Spending $450 on a console just to pay even more money to actually take advantage of it is one of the dumbest concepts I've ever heard in my life. Secondly, boosting resolutions and frame rates for a game has to be the most simple thing for any deal to do unless the game's engine has a stroke whenever you change the game's frame rate, which isn't really that many, especially when it comes to modern games. It's so easy that just about every PC game on the planet have graphics settings where you can pick and choose whatever resolution and frame rate you want to play it. Unless the game's engine can't handle anything over 60 or something like that, you can choose an FPS and play at your heart's content as long as your PC can handle it. For example, if I ever feel like torturing myself, I could play Muse Dash at 720p at 2 FPS, and if I ever feel like actually enjoying myself, I can bump the resolution up to a very nice 1440p and the frame rate to a buttery smooth 160 FPS, all through a couple of tweaks in my settings, completely free. People on consoles shouldn't have to pay for what's basically this, and I don't see how even the biggest, most diehard Nintendo fan can defend that. And even with games that are getting new content along with their resolution and performance updates, the only thing you should have to pay for is the new content itself. The other enhancements should be simple updates because that's pretty much what they are. They're no different from the countless random patches any other game gets that fixes bugs and glitches, and you don't pay for those, do you? I see people using the excuse that the upgrades are quote unquote free with your Nintendo Switch Online subscription, so it's okay. But if you say that slowly, you understand how crazy that sounds. If you have to pay to get access to something, whether it's through a subscription or buying it straight out, it's not free. It's insane that I even had to say this. It's common sense really. It's like people are coping by trying to make things sound not as bad as they actually are. It's pathetic. And that's all I have to say about that. Next, let's talk about what Nintendo's doing with the games themselves. So, remember when Tears of the Kingdom was $70 and people got understandably upset? And how Nintendo came out and said that not every game is going to be that price and that it's only going to be on a game-by-game basis? Well, we have $80 games now, along with games that came out on the first Switch going up to $70 because not only has their day one prices refused to drop, but also because of the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition upgrades. You might not have heard that correctly, so let me turn off the music real quick so I can personally make sure y'all understand what I'm saying. In a world where brand new games are $70, for the base versions at least, Nintendo is charging those that don't already own their older games $70 for them. Breath of the Wild, I don't care how good it is not worth $70. No game is, especially one that just had its 8th birthday. Also, it came out that this $70 version of Breath of the Wild doesn't even have the DLC included. So if you were, let's say, somebody that's only played on PlayStation all their life and decided to get a Switch 2 and wanted to play Breath of the Wild, you will wind up paying $60 for the base game, $10 for the Switch 2 Edition upgrade, and another $20 for the DLC. That's $90 for a game that's on its way to be a decade old. I don't understand how in the world there's people on this planet that can justify that. And it's genuinely depressing that there's people out there that'll buy it happily. They're even charging you for what's basically a playable instruction manual with Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. This should have been a free packing title, just like how Wii Sports was back with the Wii, and how Face Raiders and the AR games were with the 3DS. Like, come on now. Astrobot was a very charming platformer that showed you all about the PS5 and its capabilities, along with having fun with the players by having a bunch of cameos and callbacks to a lot of things in PlayStation's history. And it came free with every PS5 as a little tech demo. This is something that you'd expect Nintendo to be doing, and you'd expect a tech demo with random generic looking people to be from PlayStation. How in the world is PlayStation out Nintendo and Nintendo? That don't make no sense. And heck, I expect the PlayStation to be the first one out the big three to be trying to raise the prices of base games past $70. And I didn't even think anybody was going to do that at all realistically. $80 for one singular game. It still feels like we only recently got $70 games and I still refuse to pay that much for a game. Now you want me to pay $80? And I know for a fact that there's some forehead that's going to be watching this and be like, but Mario Kart is the only new game that costs $80, so it's probably going to be on a case-by-case basis, so you're overreacting. First off, Nintendo pretty much said this exact thing about Tears of the Kingdom and look what happened. And secondly, no game on this planet's base price should be $80. I don't care how good it is. And you know something, my dear viewers, and don't worry, I'll turn the music back on in a minute. Just one last thing. As much crap as I'm giving Nintendo, I'll be completely honest with y'all. I don't really blame them for trying to milk every cent from my wallets because let's be real. For every one person that says, you know what, I refuse to pay such high prices for games, there's gonna be at least 20 more people that already have their pre-orders locked in. Nintendo's charging so much for their stuff because they know people will buy it. It's like how Apple charges upwards of $1,000 for their phones. It's our fault that companies are doing this kind of stuff. We put up with it. And that's really sad because it's not gonna stop. It never will because people will always be too stupid to just not buy something even if they know the price is too much. And that sadly is just how it's always gonna be. Alright, turn the music back on. Let's finish this video. Listen, I know that value is subjective and that folks will happily pay for whatever is worth it to them and makes them happy, which I respect. You only live one life, so I believe you should do what you desire. But at the same time, I just can't help but think about the fact that going out and paying $70 for an almost decade-old game and $80 for any kind of game sends a message to not only Nintendo, but to every other game company in the world. It's telling them that people are willing to pay these kinds of prices for our games. And before you know it, they'll be raising the prices for their games too. Heck, Rockstar already wants to charge you over $70 for GTA 6. And watching people pay $80 for Mario Kart will only just give them more confidence that they can get away with it just like Nintendo. And I really don't want that to happen. No game at its base price should be $80. I don't care what the game is. I love and adore the Dragon Guard series and how it makes me turn pale whenever I hear the ringing of church bells. And how the events that took place in the game still have major influences on what happens in the story of Nier even to this day. And I wish Square would remake the game so more people can understand firsthand how and why the world of Nier got turned into the absolute wasteland it is. But I wouldn't dare pay $70 for any of them, let alone $80. And it just kinda confuses me whenever I see people ready to spend so much money for a single game. I know this probably makes me sound like some kinda holier than thou weirdo, but that's just how I feel. I truly do wonder how much more game prices will rise before people stop making excuses for these companies and happily bending over for them and collectively say no to them. Everybody has their limit after all. I just hope it's not too much higher than it is now. But anyway, In conclusion, I'm just gonna save for a Steam Deck and call it a day. I have cheaper games, a better library, flexible hardware, and I can play Dragon Guard 3 on the porch. PC gaming is just exclusively my way of doing things at this point, and from the way things are now in this industry, that won't change anytime soon. If you want to Switch 2 and some of the new games that's coming to it, I wish you all the luck in the world to get it, and I hope you enjoy yourself to your heart's content. That's what matters most at the end of the day. If you want it, you deserve it. And I'm sorry for being gone so long. I had to leave for a while to get my head on straight, I guess you can say. Things are much better now, so you won't have to wait a whole year to hear from me again. I promise. If you liked this video, give it a like, and if you didn't like it, drop a dislike. And if you want to hear more of me in the future, subscribe to me and stick around for a while. I hope you enjoy yourself. Well, that's all I have to say. I wish all of you a good day or a good night. See you.